It's finally happened. I got my DNO authorization, so I'm getting solar. It's time to celebrate. Okay, so you might have seen my other video where I've been talking about basically getting solar on the roof of the house and of the cave, and really the whole idea of this is to be able to generate all my electricity and put it in a battery as well. And one of the things that I had to do was get something which is called DNO approval, so distribution network operator approval, and that's using a G59 form, and that basically is for systems that they consider to be of large generation, so typically anything over 4 kilowatts. If you are thinking about getting solar, obviously hopefully the company that you work with can provide you with all the relevant detail, but typically any system that's under 16 amps per phase does not need to have the approval from the network operator. So you have to check though. So there are systems that have an inverter that are in between 3.6 kilowatts and 4 kilowatts that do generate more than 16 amps per phase. So you have to be careful. As long as you're under 16 amps per phase, you should be fine. And basically that's what they consider to be a smaller system, so it's pre-approved, and you just fill out a I think it's 83 form after the install's been done, and then everyone's happy. But I had to get approval ahead of time, so it's been quite a few weeks. There was a few issues, and it's been over a month now, and so basically depending on who your distribution network is, so up here where I live it's Western Power, but they kind of subcontract that out to someone else, so it took even more palaver to get things sorted. And they have a 30, or somewhere between a 30 to 65 day working day turnaround. You have to wait for someone to come back, and we have this, which means now we can go ahead and get things installed, and obviously that means that I can feed in to the grid basically and get some money. So my install should happen hopefully before the end of August now, just the panels, not the battery. So that Tesla Powerwall 2, we've still got to wait a long time for that to come. Maybe October, maybe it's March, it'll be here when it is here, but I'm really looking forward to that. But that means that right now the feed-in tariff I get will be 3.93 pence per kilowatt, and if my install doesn't get done until later into October, then it reduces to 3.86. And I think basically they're going to abolish this altogether next year, which means the battery will be even more important. But whatever you're doing, you have to make sure that the installer is MCS accredited, because you need that to be able to get your fit payments and what have you. So a couple of things I've learnt from this process is to be really sure that you know who your distribution network operator is. It sounds simple and obvious, and really in hindsight it is. If you look at your energy meter, on there somewhere will be a sticker or a label that indicates who installed that as part of the connection to the grid. So this isn't going to be your Eon or your British Gas, it's going to be one of the main distribution network operators. So check who that is, because I did some checking online and it said it was Western Power, then obviously it turned out it wasn't. But when you look at the energy meter, you can see a little sticker on there which told me that mine was done by a company called GTC, and that seems quite common in new build areas. So this house is about 5 years old, and a lot of the time the major distribution network operators have subcontracted that out to these smaller companies, and these GTC people seem to be a utility network provider that works a lot with new build developments, so that may apply to you. And then the other thing is, make sure that you establish some reporting rhythm or some catch up with the people that are doing the install, and kind of you getting updates. So I think right now It's really good because solar is really popular. I think lots of people are trying to get in before the feed-in tariffs get abolished altogether. So 2018 seems a really busy year, and obviously as a result of that, these solar installers are really busy, which is fantastic for them, but not so good if you're waiting on something. So obviously they're not going to make any money out of me until the DNO was approved, and then they can do the install, then obviously I pay for it. So you'd think it'd be in their interest to be pushing these things forward, but if you look at it on the flip side, if they're inundated with smaller installs that are already pre-approved, then they can just be knocking them out, making the money, and they kind of potentially get back to this at some other date. So you will get a response back from the grid operator, obviously within their SLA, you would assume, but work with your installer to kind of nag them a little bit more. And also if the installer designer can develop relationships with these distribution network operators that have like the design review team, then also it may not be right, but you can kind of push these things forward and get things moving a little bit quicker. And that's kind of what happened with me. I did some additional chasing, made some phone calls, and then obviously working with the people I selected for the install, which is Forever Green Renewables that I mentioned before, was able to kind of expedite and push this through a little bit further. So it was less than the 30 days, by about 8 working days less or something, so in a couple of weeks. And the other thing is, when you're having to go this route, so when you're using the G59 DNO request form, get a provisional date from your installer based on the SLA. So if it's going to be 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 65 days, whatever your distribution network operator's SLA is, work with your installer to pencil you in provisionally for around the time that SLA expires. So that what that means is basically you should get a DNO response, yes or no, by that time, and obviously then the install can happen straight away. So what's happened for me is I did ask to have this provisional date booked in, which is the end of August, kind of halfway through this process, but obviously that wasn't happening proactively. So in hindsight, when I did the original request for the install, I would have been more proactive and said, hey look, 18th of June is going to be the deadline date for the DNO to make their approvals, so can we pencil in a week after, what is the closest slot? But it just so happened that obviously by the time I did it, the closest slot is the end of August. But yeah, that's basically it. So I'm really happy. So that means hopefully in a few months time I'll be producing my own electricity. The weather's been fantastic in the UK, so by the end of August it will turn to crap, and we'll see what happens. If you're interested in finding out more about my install, I did a previous video on that, but the short version is it's a 9 kilowatt system, so around 300 kilowatt panels. All of them have Solar Edge optimizers on, all connected back to a 6 kilowatt Solar Edge HD wave inverter. So yes, 6 kilowatts, not 9 kilowatts. And I covered a bit of that in the previous video, and if you have questions I can do a follow-up video just to explain that a little bit more. And then also we'll have the 13.5 kilowatt Tesla Powerwall 2 hopefully installed as well. So that's it. So next videos will hopefully be as we go through the install process. So like I say, in just over a month's time, do the video of all the scaffolding going up and all the panels being installed and the cable runs and everything. And as part of that, I'll kind of do a prep show of where I'm hoping to have all the equipment installed in the garage, and take you through that experience. And then obviously once it's installed, see how well it works, and see if the research I think has paid off. But yeah, I hope that is helpful. So like I said, if you've got a smaller system, you're probably already pre-approved and you're not going to have to wait like I am. But if you want to kind of maximise your roof space and you have a large roof, then you might have to go down this G59 DNO accreditation approval route, and you do have to be patient.
Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.